Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop. And this is my first impressions look on the Adidas AE1. This is Anthony Edwards' first signature shoe with Adidas, of course, and it retails for 120 bucks, which I think is a pretty good price, especially for the tech that you're getting. And this has to be one of the most hyped shoes, you know? Remember when the leaks came out and it looked terrible? This shoe looked absolutely terrible. Everyone was clowning on it, including me. And then it finally came out, right? The official pictures, and then it actually looks really good. So this color is actually called acidic orange, which is pretty interesting. And this is the With Love colorway. So if you guys do want to cop, try to leave in the free link in the description box. Adidas sold out, but there are some sizes available on like Foot Locker and stuff like that. So affiliate links again will be in the description box. But let's get it started right off with the tracciones. And the traction, we have a very large, like zoomed in, like scaled zoom in, like herringbone traction pattern, right? So it's basically like a V shape, right? But it's pretty much multi-directional herringbone going throughout the entire outsole. And the traction, how does it feel on my wood floor so far? It feels freaking absolutely amazing. I don't know what they did with the rubber compound, but the bite is really good, right? It has an amazing bite so far, and I'm super duper happy about that because Adidas has been lacking in the traction department in some of their shoes, but the AE1, it feels really nice. And also for dust pickup, I don't know if you guys can see, but I guess on this colorway it's a little bit more, but there is a little bit of dust. I guess my floors are a little bit dirty, a little bit dusty, right? But yeah, it seems still to be binding very well, right? And as you guys can see, the grooves are pretty well spaced apart, right? Especially with these slits, so it doesn't seem like it's gonna pick up that much dirt or debris or dust or anything like that. So I feel like it'll be very good for dust performance, hopefully. Well, of course, I haven't played in these yet. It's just my first impressions. One thing that kind of sucks though is that durability doesn't seem like it'll be very good, right? So the rubber is pretty soft, right? And the grooves are very thin. The good thing though is that the grooves are deep though. So that's good. You know, that'll help with durability, but the rubber overall doesn't seem that hard. So I don't think it'll be the best option for outdoor use, but it doesn't feel like terrible, you know what I mean? So the traction I'm very happy about. It feels very nice so far. And it's pretty interesting because this is a slightly translucent rubber, right? And there is a nice little bit of squeak, which of course has nothing to do with performance, but I like to have a little bit of squeak, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of you guys do as well. So there is a traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition. Overall, it feels pretty smooth as well. So here in the heel, we have a little bit of rounded shape, so it doesn't feel too clunky. However, we have a good amount of caging, right? So the rubber comes up to cage the, I guess like the actual midsole, even though there's not really a midsole. So that is pretty clunky. And also here, in my first kind of like initial thoughts when the pictures came out, I thought this was kind of like foam, right? But it's not. It's just this plastic piece that's connected with this support wing, right? This is all plastic, so there's not a whole lot of like compression right here. So it is a little clunky in the heel, but not too bad, right? It's still pretty smooth, especially with this shape, right? And then here in the forefoot, we have a nice curved shape, which is of course very nice. Adidas usually makes very flat shoes, but I like what they're doing in their more modern or recent shoes where they have a little bit more curve here in the forefoot. And look at that, super duper flexible, right? I love how smooth it feels here in the forefoot. I love how flexible it feels as well. It's just a very smooth feeling shoe. But also, you guys can see we have pretty much like, it reminds me a lot of the Crazy Explosive, right? And it's just like X shape, right? So it is pretty much full length. It goes pretty much all the way here into the forefoot. And of course, torsion support seems good, right? It doesn't really bend in the midfoot that much. But also, it is super flexible and it has a nice spring back. So that'll definitely help with making the shoe feel a little bit more springy, especially like comparing to the Wild 10. The Wild 10 feels really nice as well. It feels very flexible, but then it'll kind of like spring back and then give you that springiness in your first step, which feels great. So I love how the heel to toe transition feels so far. And now moving on to the cushioning setup. The cushioning setup feels very similar to the Harden Volume 7. The setup is pretty similar, right? I mean, the foam is a little bit different. We have Light Strike and Boost in the Harden Volume 7, but it feels even better in the AE1 in my personal opinion, right? So obviously I just put these on as well. This is a new pair of Harden Volume 7, so it's not even like broken in or anything like that. And the Boost is still very soft, right? But then here in the AE1, they're still using Boost, but they're calling it Jet Boost, right? So on the Adidas website, I don't know if they got the tech specs wrong, but I've been checking like Foot Locker and stuff like that, and they have different tech specs, right? So on the Adidas website, it says they're using Boost and also Light Strike, which is weird, right? But then if you look at the actual shoe, I don't really see any light strike, right? So here on the lateral side, like I said before, this is just a plastic. It's just a TPU wing. So that's just plastic. It's not light strike at all. And then here in the back of the heel, that's just rubber. And then if you look on the outsole, you can see the boost through the slits, right? So it's just boost, it feels like. But they're calling it jet boost. And what they're saying with the actual boost, it says it's a full length TPU encased jet boost, right? So they say they're using smaller energy capsules than the original boost foam. So it's fused together for greater energy return and cushion. That's what it says on Foot Locker, right? So it doesn't say anything about light strike on Foot Locker. So I think Adidas had, like the actual Adidas website has the tech specs wrong. I could be wrong on that, but I don't really see light strike, right? I see just boost. But anyways, that doesn't really matter all too much. I'll just tell you guys how it feels, and it feels absolutely amazing, guys. So first of all, of course, you know, we have the insole. The insole sucks. It's just your typical Adidas insole. It's very, very thin. It's not very comfortable, right? But then underneath that, right, we have a very nice large cutout here in the heel exposing the jet boost, right? And it feels very, very soft right there, right where the cutout is, of course. But then also around that, the strobe board is really soft too, right? And it doesn't look like it's soft, but when you feel it here in the heel and also in the forefoot, it's really, really soft. There's a lot of compression. So stepping comfort and underfoot cushioning feels absolutely amazing. And I also think the AE1 feels a lot better than the Harden Volume 7, right? There's a little bit more compression. It's softer in the heel and also in the forefoot. The forefoot here in the Harden Volume 7, especially with the light strike, isn't as soft, especially since, you know, this is a new shoe, right? But here in the AE1, it feels better, right? There's not as much compression here in the heel, of course, but that's not a huge deal. Court feel is absolutely amazing. You have really, really, really good court feel, reminiscent of the Hardens, right? Hardens are known for having very good court feel, and same thing here in the AE1. So yeah, it's a really, really nice cushioning setup. I love how it feels, right? So it has that a little bit of springiness, right? It has a little bit of bounce. Stepping comfort and underfoot cushioning is very, very comfortable. Court feel is amazing. So I love how the cushioning setup feels so far, and I would say it's an improvement compared to the Harden Volume 7. But also the Harden Volume 8 is rumored to have jet boost as well, so it'll probably have a little bit better cushion than the Harden Volume 7 too, right? But of course the Harden Volume 7 is $160 and the AE1 is $40 cheaper, coming in at $120. So that definitely is an improvement. I really like that. And now moving on to the upper. So we have a textile upper, right? This black material is pretty much textile. And then here in the toe box, we have another like synthetic suede overlay, which feels very cheap. And then of course, we can't forget about the TPU wing, which pretty much encapsulates the entire lateral and also medial side, and it kind of wraps around the tip of the toe as well with this plastic. So I guess for durability, if you're doing toe drags and stuff, it's covered. You're covered. You don't have to worry about durability at all. But here in the toe box, it's actually quite thin for the textile, right? But then obviously with this TPU, it does get a little bit stiffer. I mean, it gets a good amount stiffer, but it's not uncomfortable really at all. And when you're kind of bending the shoe and when you're walking around, it kind of like bends right here, right? And I thought this would be a little uncomfortable. It's actually not. This plastic is quite soft and it kind of pushes, you know, the top of my foot a little bit, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable at all, right? So it's actually not that bad. And obviously support is going to be absolutely amazing in this shoe. So honestly, I'm not that mad at this material, right? If you're looking for something super minimal, however, then obviously this isn't a great option. But if you're looking for like a very supportive upper, that feels really nice. And also the quality isn't that bad as far as the textile material goes in. It's not bad, right? And also for the first couple of eyelets, the laces go through the actual upper, right? It's kind of like a like this entire booty. It goes over all the way until the middle of the midfoot, and then of course we have this tongue, right? And the tongue doesn't have that much padding, so it's not super cozy, but it is attached to an elastic band on both the lateral and medial sides, so it keeps the tongue in place. And also with that elastic, it reminds me a lot of the Dawn Issue 5, which it was a burrito style tongue, right? But it also had that elastic band. That'll definitely help with keeping the tongue in place and also kind of like stretching that tongue on top of your foot. So that feels very nice. And then here in the ankle area, we have a little bit of padding. It's not super well padded, right? It's actually pretty minimal. And then here in the back of the shoe, we have the Adidas logo and we have this plastic. It looks like carbon fiber. They put this design on there to make it look like carbon fiber, but it's just a pretty thick plastic, right? It's just an external heel counter. So the overall material I do like, but then we'll get into the overall material weight in the weight category, right? So there's that. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to size and this shoe fits me amazing, right? And it fits me very similarly to the Harden Volume 7. I went true to size with this shoe as well. And yeah, I feel like all of Adidas shoes I've been going true to size and they fit me very well. Nike, they've been running a little short, so I've been going up half a size in Nikes, but Adidas, it's been very, very good going true to size, right? So it's a very, very snug fit here in the toe box, right? So it's there's not a whole lot of dead space, which I do like. I like a very snug toe box, and also width-wise, I would say it's slightly narrow, and length-wise, going true to size, my toes go very, very close to the edge of the shoe. So yeah, that feels very nice for the fit. And if you want a very snug fit, then go true to size, you should be fine. But if you want it to be a little bit roomier, then probably go up half a size, you should still be fine. It probably won't have too much dead space because it's still a snug fit. And if you have a very wide foot or you want a lot of room, then probably go up a full size. But for most people, I would suggest going true to size. So there's the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, I mean, yeah. This shoe is going to be very supportive. No matter how heavy you are, I feel like you're going to be covered. Right here on the lateral side, we have this TPU piece. And it's this like hexagon, right? Honeycomb like pattern that they have. And it's just a very, very soft plastic, right? It's actually quite malleable as well. And then we can see all these holes, obviously. And then underneath that, we can see a mesh material. And it's actually kind of well ventilated, but there is an underlaying material that doesn't allow for that much airflow, which kind of sucks. And they were kind of saying in the tech specs that, oh, it has good airflow with the honeycomb and the mesh, but it's not, right? But anyways, this honeycomb is still very, very supportive, and it doesn't feel like your foot's gonna come out of the footbed at all, right? So here, it's got you covered here in the forefoot, here in the midfoot, and also here in the heel. Like I said, we have this external heel counter. So lateral containment feels like it's gonna be great. And also lateral stability, look at how much the outrigger protrudes out here. It's a very, very wide base here in the forefoot, so it feels very laterally stable so far. And with this material, it doesn't, I mean, it's kind of like a high top, right? But it doesn't really restrict ankle movement that much. The ankle support doesn't seem that amazing, so it's just like a pretty thin, malleable material, so don't expect too much ankle support. But overall, like, lockdown feels great. I'm not experiencing any type of heel slippage, and the support seems really good, right? So all that's great, but let's look at the freaking weight, guys. So the weight, I mean, this shoe feels kind of hefty. It feels kind of heavy, right? It feels very similar to the Harden 107, so I feel like it's gonna be like 15 ounces maybe. Yeah, 15.3 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 15.6 ounces, guys. That's freaking heavy. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So that's pretty heavy. The Harden Volume 7 is 15.3 ounces, so pretty much the same exact weight. And honestly, I didn't really mind the weight here in the Harden Volume 7 because it was a very responsive shoe, right? It felt a little bulky, you know what I mean, because of this kind of like material in the midfoot, but still not terrible. But because of how low to the ground you felt and how good the traction was, I still felt very quick while I was playing in the Harden Volume 7. It feels like it'll be the same here in the AE1, right? The fit's great, the support feels great, so it doesn't feel like my foot's gonna move around inside of the shoe. The traction seems top tier, the cushion is very low to the ground, but also very comfortable. So I feel like this is gonna be a very responsive shoe, and also it doesn't feel as bulky as the Harden Volume 7 because of the midfoot material, right? The AE1, I guess it's a little bit more rigid feeling because of this plastic, kind of like TPU wing, but it doesn't feel super bulky because it doesn't feel like puffy or anything, you know what I mean? So honestly, it feels really nice on foot so far. I just wish it was a little bit lighter, you know what I mean? I definitely feel like they did a little too much with this TPU wing at 15.5 ounces is still pretty heavy, you know what I mean? So there's that. Moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. It looks absolutely amazing. And I'm so sorry for clowning on it, I guess, when the leaked images came out, but now that I have it in hand, on foot pictures, this shoe looks absolutely amazing. I feel like if you have the fear of holes though, you definitely won't like this shoe, right? Trypophobia, I think it was, but I don't really have that. And I think, you know, honeycomb looks really cool. It reminds me of like, you know, beehives. So I really like it, and this colorway looks great as well. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, I'm super excited, guys, and Adidas has a new signature athlete, which I'm super happy about as well, Anthony Edwards. And this shoe definitely feels like it'll suit Anthony Edwards very well, right? He's very explosive, the cushion is really good, and he needs that impact protection, he needs that support, but also the traction is really good. The only thing, I guess, is the weight. It is kind of heavy, but again, it feels like it'll be responsive. So I'm very, very happy, and my first impressions of the AE1 are very, very good, and I'm super duper excited to try these out. But anyways, that about concludes my first impressions look on the AE1. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the free link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.